Hi everybody, welcome back to glorious Sip City. We are back for some more red hot City Skylines action today. Last episode we added the castle on top of the hill and sort of tried to make it look presentable or whatever. It's looking pretty good. We'll look at it again after a time lapse that's just about to happen. Today we are going to be expanding Old Town. We're going to expand Old Town out a little bit. And we're adding a nice new swanky manor for the mayor of the city who, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but is actually dead. There's a memorial hospital put up for the mayor of Sip City, which is me. I'm apparently dead, but I guess my dead body just inhabits the mayor's house that we're about to build, and I still somehow run the city. Anyway, enjoy the time lapse. It's just an expansion of Old Town with the Grand Mayor residence as well. And I'll join you for some live commentary after that, and we'll go through some of the changes, and we'll get to work on something new. So I already had a general idea of what I wanted to do for the mayor's residence. I wanted something that looked sort of had a big lead up to it, right? A lot of paths that led up to it with some parks and everything. And I downloaded a custom asset, which is like this German manor or something. I can't even really remember the name of it now, but it looked the part. It was sort of palatial. It looks like a great big palace. And that's where we want our mayor to live in Sip City, right? I mean, he's the guy who's doing all of the planning and making everything look tip-top in Sip City. So he's got to have like a big old place to live in. He's got to have lots of rooms in his house so that he can entertain, wine and dine guests that are visiting the city and stuff like that. So I wanted it to be part of Old Town as well. Old Town is sort of using this theme, the European theme, or the old style European theme, with all the buildings that are very sort of close together, that stick to each other, and they seem to work really well with these sort of off-square shapes for neighborhoods. This part of Old Town is a little bit more square than the other part of Old Town, the older part of Old Town. But I wanted to just go like a little bit sort of crazy with that, add little roundabouts where we didn't even really need roundabouts. Just create these little sort of neighborhoods that could be complemented by paths and lots of trees and parks and stuff, and just generally just make the area look very sort of old but very nice at the same time. It's going to be like a part of a tourist destination. People coming to the city will probably want to go visit the monument in the center of the city, which currently doesn't exist, but will also want to come out to Old Town and everything once they're done losing all their money on the strip, gambling, and going to Funland and, losing all of their money to prostitutes and stuff like that. They'll want to come back to Old Town and they'll want to reacquaint themselves with like the old style of life, right? And they'll want to get blown away by the dead mayor of the city who lives in this great big creepy haunted mansion that has a huge lead up with paths and parks and everything. So I used a lot of assets, a lot of benches, a lot of statues and fountains and things like that, just to sort of add to it. I just thought that it was a little bit more fun, but also that, in the end, all the little details matter, right? I just like the idea that I could save this map and upload it, and somebody could download the map and go through it and just find like tons of little details and fun things, like, just like dumpsters where you'd never expect to find a dumpster and things like that. I really like that idea. So I spend a lot of time just adding little bits and pieces to sort of these little nooks and crannies of the city and stuff. So I spent a lot of time doing that too. But I was really pleased in the end. I was really pleased with the outcome. We've got a lot of nice sort of scenic spots in the city now. I messed around a little bit more with the terraforming tool. I got a little bit better with it. I'm still a far ways off, but I haven't had much practice with it or experience with it. So eventually I'll get a lot better with it. But we made like a sunken railway that leads into the industrial area, which was quite cool, using some assets from the Steam Workshop. I also tidied up some of the avenue that leads up to the monument that is still not in place yet, but the big sort of central monument that we're thinking of adding to the city. I tidied up that avenue. I made the trees a bit less dense. There's a lot of feedback, people saying that they like the density. Some people didn't like the density. I came back to it and saw it and I thought, you know what, I think it is a little bit too dense, so I sort of tidied it up a little bit. I'm really pleased with the way that it looks now. It's looking really nice. And of course, in sort of off camera, in my spare time, I sort of improved the look of the castle area and the bike paths and everything leading up to it. A lot of people mentioned that I used footpaths instead of the bike path, so I changed that back to a bike path and just generally made the lead up to the castle look a little bit nicer, maybe a little bit more realistic and stuff as well. So far so good. I'm really pleased with the way the city is looking. And I'll continue to just sort of chop and change things as I go and expand out and hopefully have ideas like the mayor residence for future expansions, because I love stuff like that. I love stuff that's not sort of an asset in the game where you can just take a big square of the city, sort of add paths and parks and just customize it and make it look like something unique. And I think that's pretty cool. And there we go. Another time lapse, courtesy of the wonderful technology of time lapse. Jeez. So yeah, there we go. The mayor's residence, where I currently reside, and people come by to visit, and they wonder why I never come out of my mayor's residence. And the clue is in the fact that there's a memorial hospital dedicated to me, and probably statues of me all over the city, where I'm like sitting on a horse, like this one right here. Even though I think that that might actually be no, it's not. Okay, it is not. Excellent. So there we go. We've got an expansion to Old Town. Old Town is getting quite big actually, and still looking pretty old, which is good. And like I was saying before too, we fixed this up a little bit, and I think it looks a bit nicer than it used to. I think it was too dense before. I think this just looks a little bit more less dense, I guess. But it also sort of freed up room so that we could put some houses and some buildings and stuff in here too. And check this out too. This is pretty interesting. This is another mod that I downloaded, which has allowed me to do this. So what I wanted around here, and sort of specifically as you go sort of more north in the city, I always just say that this is north, even though technically it may not be. I have no idea. But as you go north of the city, I want it to go from being sort of like an old European style town, particularly an old town, into something modern, you know? Like I want there to be a skyline. I want there to be a couple of maybe skyscrapers and some bigger buildings and stuff. And one way I was getting around that was to make this sort of Gonzo district here into like a tourism district, which meant that we had sort of buildings similar to the ones that are on the strip. All these hotels like the Best Eastern and whatever. And I liked that. It looked pretty cool. But that was only for commercial stuff, right? All the residential areas and the offices that are currently in the Gonzo district were still sort of getting this old European style of building. So it was mixed in with the hotels, and it looked good enough or whatever, but I wanted to have a couple of tall insurance buildings or whatever. I wanted to definitely be able to create some big blocks of flats that weren't like in this, you know, the old sort of European style. So I got this mod, which allows me to pick themes based on districts, right? So if I click on the Gonzo district here, I've got this new theme tab now, and I can say, I want it European, or I just want it to be international. So you just enable the theme management for this district, and you can make buildings that are in this district only use the sort of international assets of the game. And that's like the sort of base vanilla stuff. If you haven't gotten After Dark or Snowfall or any new stuff or new themes that they've added to the game since the game came out, it'll just use all of the old buildings, which are like the modern looking buildings, right? So that's pretty cool, and that's something that we're probably going to use today for what we're doing. Do you want to look at the castle really quick too before we move on? Look at that. Look at all these dopes are back here. I guarantee it. They're back here looking after their kids. having a smoke and throwing some stuff into the dumpster or whatever. But this is looking a little bit nicer, isn't it? It's I took away some of the density of trees. I quite liked it being more dense up by the castle, and then it just sort of thins out as you go down here, sort of like hugs the road a little bit. But I think it looks a little bit more natural now, and it looks a little bit better. And we built this Castle Way district here, which looks okay, but I need some more assets for level 5 1x1 housing, because this seems to be the only asset in the game, and it just does actually, like I've said many times before, make it look like a future prison. But anyway, all right, so today we are going to use the terraforming tool, which is going to either end really terribly or maybe end really well. This area here, I was going to make it like a sort of cargo and shipping yard, but I think what I'll do is industry is probably going to sort of expand out a little bit into this area. I think what we could do is on this side of the highway here, this area here, make this like the cargo shipping yard or whatever. What I would like to have here is a stadium. Everybody's been saying, come on, we need a sports stadium, we need a Bon Jovi stadium, we need a stadium for anything that would ever come to Sip City or whatever, and you're right. And I think a good place to put a stadium will be in this area here. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a stadium, we're going to get some you know, some high rises, maybe like we could maybe get a hotel, but I was thinking more like have some sort of apartment blocks or whatever. We'll make like a little you know, park plaza sort of thing that leads up into the stadium or whatever, and then it'll crucially sort of have its own access to the highway and everything, which it kind of needs, because I think a lot of people are going to come down here and get their Bon Jovi on in a major way, right? We're going to go for this. We're going to use this stadium. I got this large football stadium, which is like a Celtic football stadium, which is fine, but I don't think we want that. We don't want Bon Jovi turning up to the city and playing his concerts in that. So we'll use that elsewhere in the city later on. For now, we'll stick with this one, because this just looks like a huge convention center, right? I mean, and convention centers can be ripped out and be used for all sorts of different things. So like, say like a hockey team comes to visit and you want to have like a show match against like a bunch of geriatrics or whatever, they can do that. They can put a hockey rink in there and they can do that quite easily, and it's pretty good. All right, let's make a start. We are going to start with the terraforming tool. What we want to do is we sort of want to get, I think we want to level this area out and make it look a little bit nicer, but we don't want it to sink too far down so that it's not level with the highway. And I think what we can do here is have like another, similar to here with these walls, we'll do something similar here where there's like a bit of a cliff and there's some walls that sort of separate off the industrial area, and then we'll make like a little bit of a, almost like a parkway here for the stadium and some of the residences and stuff that we're going to build. So I think we could probably go with a height like this-ish, maybe even higher actually. You can go a little bit higher. We'll level it out, and then it'll gently sort of slope down here so that it doesn't look too sort of carved out, I guess. Maybe a bit higher. I think like that is probably okay. So we'll have it go to here. We'll level out the area that we want to build on for this, like, you know, stadium parkway or whatever, and then we can just smooth it out and make it sort of fit in with the rest of the landscape after, because we don't want it to just look like a shelf sort of thing, do we? So I think if we go up to about here and then we start smoothing it out and we get some trees and some other crap in there, I could probably adjust the size of this actually. There we go. Just make it really, really fucking big. Okay, cool. That should be fine, and then like I said, we'll smooth it out a little bit closer to the edges. That should be a little bit smaller. Like I was saying in the time lapse, I'm not amazing at using the terraforming tool, but I'm getting a little bit better now. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to it or whatever, and then once you do get used to it, it's not too bad. This I'll do off camera because it's a little bit fussy. I'll add the walls and stuff to here, but we can smooth out the rest of that, and I think that that's probably going to do us. Let's say push it back a little bit, smooth it out, get some trees and stuff in there, and that should be fine. We could probably work with that. Okay, cool. So let's plan out how it's going to look. How big is this stadium anyway? It's fairly big. Okay, cool. So we'll have like a road that's sort of like here-ish. We'll start with this road, and we'll make sure that the stadium is on this road. That should be fine. We'll start with this road. We'll place the stadium here, and then, of course, we can just move it around after, right? So we want the stadium to be sort of like here. It's going to need ample parking and stuff, too. I've got some parking spots that we can add to the stadium, and we definitely will add to the stadium. Let's just get those right now. I think that they're in here somewhere. God, I've got so many mods and stuff now. It's pretty sweet, though. I mean, modding does add a lot to this game. Okay, so how big is this thing? This thing is pretty big. It's 6 high, I guess. 6 high. So we want to make sure that we can fit it in here. So that's 2, 4, 6. So that's right there. Perfect. We'll get a couple of these parking lots in here. People are going to need to park big time. I mean, we could use this big one here, the large parking garage, but I kind of like, for a stadium, I like there to be like outdoor parking like this. I think it's a little bit better. I think what we can do is we could probably get it so that's like, what, 2, 4, 6. So we need another road. Goes like this. And we'll just wedge a couple in on the side here too. I might change this around a little bit later on, but I think for now that's probably okay. Are we still flat over there too? Yeah, we are. Okay, that is a lot of friggin' parking, isn't it? We're gonna need it though. I mean, if you've ever been to a Bon Jovi concert before in your life, you'll understand that it's exciting. When he finally does decide to come to your town, holy crap, hold on to your butts and everything like that because it's really exciting. And the tickets sell out instantly. And it's not really the best when that happens, but there you go. We might actually be able to fit a park in here. Oh yeah, we can. Holy crap, look at that. This is the plaza with trees, which is not too bad actually. It's one of the nicer parks. Some of the ones that come with the base game aren't the best. It's got to be said. But this one's pretty nice. I don't know if it's going to look a little bit sort of... Actually, I wonder if these parking lots are a bit too much. I mean, maybe we can get rid of one of them, right? Or should we get rid of this one and move this one over a little bit and then make it so that we can actually have like a path that leads to the stadium from here? That might work a little bit better. So like if we do something like that... Can it connect up? Oh no, it can't even connect up. That's crazy. All right, fine. What we'll do is we'll move the parking lot over a bit. So we can just move it to like here, I guess. And then we can just sort of mask it a little bit with trees and stuff. That should be fine, actually. We'll leave that for now. Okay, and the other thing that we want to do, we want to get a couple of different things in here. We want to get maybe the mall. Like, it would be nice to actually move the mall from, like, this part of town over to here so that it sort of acts as, like, a bit of, like, a convention center, stadium, or whatever. But you can do a little bit of shopping while you're out here as well. Like, a lot of these things are sort of outside of the city, I guess, normally. And they'll have, like, I don't know, like, outlet stores and stuff around it or whatever. So, I mean, we could maybe think about doing that. In fact, let's actually move the mall over right now because currently it doesn't really have anywhere to live. It's just sitting over there doing its own thing. All right, we'll put them all like here. And then actually from like a bird's eye view, that's going to look pretty cool. It's going to have the stadium, some parking, a mall, and then just like a bunch of sort of high-rise apartments and stuff like that. I think that'll look pretty sweet. Okay, we need to actually hook this up though because we've just knocked out power to like the whole city. We'll do it here. Even though the residents of this area will probably be pretty pissed now that there's these ugly ass power lines installed in their neighborhood. But okay, perfect. We're back on. The lights are back on. That is great. Perfect. Okay, we'll come back down here and we'll continue to... Do we want this to go out sort of like this? I think, yeah. And then I think what we can do is we can sort of bring the coast. And I kind of like this like cliff thing here. But another thing we could do is sort of sink this down, make it a bit of a shelf, and then put like some more leisure and stuff down there if we wanted to. We don't necessarily have to do that. Let's go with something like this. Actually, let's flatten this out a little bit more here so that we can actually get this road over, and then we'll smooth all of this out after when we're done. Okay, so we'll move this road out to here-ish. We can probably hook a road up to some of this, but we really should give it its own access from here, right? I think we should anyway. We don't really want it to share this access to this industrial area because the traffic is pretty heavy in this area. Look at how much money we have, by the way. Holy crap. We're back up to like over 2 million, which is pretty good. The city's actually functioning quite well. It's making like quite a bit of money, and the demands and stuff are like pretty steady, but nothing is so high that it's like becoming a problem or whatever. Okay, cool. So we want this to go around probably to here, sort of close this little area off, and then we can maybe have like another path that leads up to there too. The mall we can flip around. It doesn't necessarily need to be like that. And then we want to figure out how we're going to get people sort of into here, right? So we could probably go with something like, we'll probably need some sort of dingle-donger up here, unless we figure out some other way to connect up the road. But again, farting around with roads and stuff is probably something that I can just do after. I kind of like this. I like this. I like a 4-lane road that sort of acts as like a central road in, but just sort of terminates on a 2-lane at the end, because it doesn't really need to do more than that. I quite like that. So I think we'll go for that. Cool. So that can do that. This can go up a little bit. Actually, this isn't too bad. If this can sort of follow this here, we sort of need that anyway, right? We need that, like, we need this cliff for the walls and stuff. So that should work out pretty good. Cool. This can connect up to there like that. And then in here, we want to get like some apartment buildings and stuff, right? I kind of like this idea that apartment buildings are built like in a development, right? And not just like shoved into like a grid. And of course, we can sort of make this district over here. We can just call this like, I don't know, Bon Jovi Way or something. Actually, that's pretty great for a district. Because this is where he's going to be going, right, when he gets in here. It's a lot bigger than the one that we made in Sipsco Coast. All right, so if we call this Bon Jovi Way. Nice. And then we go into here, click on Bon Jovi Way, go to themes, enable this, and go international. It means that we can actually build actual blocks of flats and stuff like that rather than like the European buildings. Okay, let's go for like some sort of shape in here or something. Let's go for like I don't know, like a Y shape. Well, I want to make like almost like housing projects in here, and I want it to like follow a bit of a pattern sort of thing. So maybe if we get sort of a couple of these Y shapes in here, we can just sort of build some high rises like in between. That's probably okay. These like sort of blocks that come off the side here because of this road here, but this isn't too bad. I think if we can get like a couple more of these in, it might look okay. We don't want to squish everything too close together, but at the same time, we want like enough people to be able to live out here. And I think what we'll do with this area too is we'll make sure that there's not too many services or whatever. We'll try to keep all of this like level 1 so that it's kind of like, well, for like uneducated workers or whatever, because we actually need some in the city right now. So we're not necessarily building a ghetto, but at the same time, we're sort of forcing this area to not be that amazing, even though it's like right by the stadium or whatever. That's the way it goes sometimes. Let's make the mall sort of face the stadium so it almost looks like it's part of like a complex or whatever. So this is for when people leave the Bon Jovi concert and they've all had like a rip-roaring great time, and then they sort of get out in the parking lot and they say, what is the meaning of life? You know, like I've hit the dizzying heights, you know, like my life is meaningless now that I've seen Bon Jovi and I don't know what to do next. But then they can sort of look out and be like, oh, hang on a second. How about some retail therapy? Let's go to the mall. It's actually called the mall. And buy some like souvenir Bon Jovi trinkets and things like that. And then everybody has a great time. Okay, let's fill in the Ys with like a big block. Or a small block in this case. A big block here. And then what we can do is we can just have like some smaller blocks. Actually, 4 or 2x2 blocks for high density residential makes sort of towers sometimes, so it's probably not too bad. We can just sort of do this, space them out a little bit so that we can get some paths and stuff in. There we go. That should be fine. And then think about what we want to do. We could probably add some to these like side roads as well. I just want this to be kind of like a housing estate sort of thing close to here. And then over here, we can maybe fill it with some more industry and stuff. I don't think it's like totally uncommon for like an area that has a stadium and a bit of shopping to have some industry attached to it as well. Especially one that's sort of close to like the rail lines and stuff, right? Or maybe I'm just lying. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about at all. Should we speed it up a little bit? Speed it up a little bit so that these things actually start to build, and then make sure that they're in the... Yeah, okay, great. Look at that. The Bedford residence. Look at that. That's nice. That's exactly what we want. We actually just want some modern-looking housing blocks out here in this area. I think that's going to look pretty cool, actually, when it's done. We need to hook it up with some pipes and stuff, though, too. Which we can do right now. Just get Sipsco's finest pipe layers on to the job here and follow the roads as best we can, which doesn't always work actually, but there you go. And we probably need some power too. I'm not sure how we're going to get the power up here, but just temporarily so that stuff can start building, we'll hook it up that way. Perfect. Okay, so the mall is open for business. And the stadium is open for business. And of course, we don't currently have a connection to the road. But we will have one in due course, right? Because we're just sort of finishing this up right now. Well, I say finishing up. We're not really close to being done at all, actually. it's going to be a lot of... It's going to be a lot more work. But a lot of it, I think I'll probably do off camera. And then we can take a look at it next time. Because it does take a long time to meticulously get in here and beautify everything and stuff. But it is a very, very fun aspect of the game, isn't it? All right, so we've got a couple of paths and stuff there. We can certainly finish off the sort of area around the stadium anyway. We don't want this to be too... We don't want the machine gun tree placing like we had last time. I think like 0.80 is fine. See, look, it's a bit less machine gunny. It's a bit more of that plopping that you've become so accustomed to if you've been watching me play this game for any sort of length of time. Okay, great. We'll add a couple of little trees in here just to sort of separate things off a little bit. And this is mostly just so that people can throw like candy bar wrappers and stuff into like the trees. I always talk about this, but it's such a thing, isn't it? If guaranteed, like next to a road, if you find like a big clump of bushes or anything like that, hey, look, I actually have some bushes. Maybe we should put some bushes down. These are quite nice bushes, aren't they? Look at that, it's really nice. That's a huge bush. Guaranteed, if that thing is next to like a road or whatever, if you look under it, there's just going to be litter all over the place. There's going to be like old potato chip bags. Just all sorts of crap. I've got this grass too, but I don't know. It's kind of tricky to use. Like, I don't think we could use it in here. We'd have to brush some of it away, but I don't quite know how to do that. So let's just place a couple of more trees in here too for these paths. And do we need to actually call this something instead of stadium? Let's just call it the Bon Jovi Center. Man, fucking Bon Jovi is a lucky guy. He not only does he get a district named after him in Sip City, but he also gets a stadium named after him too. I hope if he's out there right now somewhere and he's watching this, I hope he's feeling really honored right now, because you know what? I think that's a nice thing to do. I think it's nice if you're somebody who records video game footage for the internet and you really like Bon Jovi in a major way, and that he would somehow maybe turn around one day and recognize you for that. I think that would be something else entirely, wouldn't it? How exciting would that be? Like if you just got a phone call to your house one day and you thought, oh shit, it's probably my dentist or something. And you pick up and you're like, hello, thinking that it's going to be like, oh shit, you haven't been in for a checkup recently. Like, what the hell is your problem? And you pick up the phone and all of a sudden it's like, excuse me, sir, you have a phone call from one Mr. Bon Jovi? You're like, what? Hey, sorry, can you repeat that? Who? Oh, it's Mr. Bon Jovi on the line for you? Because, you know, of course, he wouldn't just phone you up and be like, hey, what's up? You know, he just gets like his guy to phone you instead. Probably like his manager or maybe one of his like bandmates or whatever. And then you sort of do that thing where you put your hand over the phone so that nobody can hear you and you do a scream. And then you talk to Bon Jovi for a bit and he tells you about how pleased he is that you've thought about him and been thinking about him, and that you've added him and you've sort of made a district in your game after him. And then he invites you over for a jam and says, here's some free tickets to some of my upcoming concerts, and you're just like, holy shit, this is like the best day of my whole life. Yeah? You ever have dreams like that? Or is it just me? Okay, so I'm just combing through here, and I'm just sort of casually placing where I want there to be high rises. This is working out quite well. I mean, it's not working out well in the fact that it's not currently hooked up to the city, but actually it's going to meet some of the demand that we have for residential right now, which is good. It's of course going to boost the population too, because Sip City is currently sitting at a comfortable 24,487 souls. Can you believe that many people want to live in this city? That's quite nice, actually. I mean, there are parts of the city that are better than others, it's got to be said, but honestly, I would live here. I would live down here in this crazy huge complex of apartment buildings and soon to be like little shopping areas and stuff. I mean, these people need everything down here though, right? They're gonna need a couple of little low density stores and stuff to do some shopping at, and they're also going to need potentially some offices to work at, but we're probably not going to fill this place up with offices. I think what we're going to do is keep it simple. We're going to get a couple of high-rises out here. In fact, we might just get rid of this area here and not have it as high-rises. We might just put something else in here, like I was saying before, maybe some industry or whatever, and then these people could just like literally cross the road and get to work, and that would be nice. But we'll have to see. It looks like there's like a crime spree at the mall as well. Okay, well, I think I'll leave you there, because the thing is, this is just going to progressively look more and more shit if I keep going like this, trying to talk about Bon Jovi and trying to like build this part of the city. What I'll do off camera is fix this area up, connect it up to the highway, level it out and smooth it out so that it doesn't just look like this ugly shelf that's just in the middle here. And then when we come back next time, we'll take a look at the finished product, and we'll start working on something else. Most of the stuff that I've been working on recently has been off the back of suggestions from people. People saying like, we need this, or we need that, or maybe we should do this, or whatever. If your suggestion is particularly hilarious, or you put like a lot of RP into it, I'll definitely name it after you. But if you just leave a one-liner on Reddit saying like, oh, we need a church. Can you name it Sephiroth XXX69, please? Thanks. Maybe I will, but I'm not sure. I love the role play. I like the idea that people petition me to make things and stuff. So let your imagination run wild. Go for it. Think up some stuff that we need for the city, and we will definitely add it in due course. The stadium was definitely something that a lot of people wanted to see. So we now have it, and once it's hooked up and integrated into the city, it's going to be great. Fantastic. Well, there we go. Another episode of Sip City for you. I hope you enjoyed that. If you like this series and you're enjoying these videos, please leave a like. They're always very helpful and very much appreciated. Alternatively, if you don't like this series or you haven't liked these videos, feel free to leave a dislike as well. There's a button for either, so you might as well use one of them, right? Great. Well, thanks once again for joining me, as usual. Thanks for all the great feedback and the support and everything. I've been totally into Cities Skylines recently, and it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed it. The mods and the Steam Workshop for this game are incredible. Holy crap, there's some fantastic stuff. I've been a bit lazy with my list of mods, but I will definitely get on it and sort out a list and give that to you guys in the description pretty soon. I just have to get around to doing it. But once I've done it, I'll let you know for sure. And then if you want to try out some of these mods, which most of them are very good, you can fill your boots. Excellent. Well, as usual, thanks very much for watching again, and I'll see you next time.